Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Sharon, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Marquardt?
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Present.
Mrs. Miller? Present. Mr. Holstein?
Present?
Mrs. Dixon? Here. Ms. Rivera? Here. Ms. Sandberg? Present. Mr. Austin?
Present.
Ms. Bookler?
Present.
And I'm here.
Okay. Let the record also reflect that the newly named town manager, Mr. Bunge's here. I don't know if that's officially on the document or not, but you're here, so
I am here.
so welcome.
Thank you, but I don't think it's quite official yet. I'm here, I guess, as just a,
You're here as a citizen?
I am a citizen.
Very good. Then Citizen Bunge is here. All right, that's good. Okay. Item number 1 on the agenda, we have election of officers for president and vice president. What is the board's pleasure for president?
I'll motion for Dale Holsey to be president of the Parks Board.
Okay, I have a motion for myself for president.
I will second that motion.
Okay, I have a second. Sharon?
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Miller? Yes. And Mr. Holstein?
Yes. Okay. Item number 2, vice president. What's the board's pleasure?
I would like to motion to nominate Paul Rodriguez for the vice president instead.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor for Paul Rodriguez.
I will second that.
Okay, I have a second from Mr. Marquardt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Holstein?
Yes. Okay. All right, consent agenda. We have meeting minutes from the December meeting. Claims, Parks and Recreation General Fund, $22,692.27. Park Impact Fee Fund, that's blank, okay. Parks and Rec Non-Reverting Fund is $1580.44. Clubhouse Non-Reverting Fund is $649.03. Total expenditures of $24,921.74, and we have no donations. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
A second by Ms. Miller. Roll call, please.
Mr. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
And Mr. Holstein?
Yes, 4-0. Okay, item number 1 under old business is a salary ordinance amendment update. This is from the December meeting regarding bonuses for staff. As we said in the previous meeting, if we were to have taken action on this, it had to be in the 2023 calendar year. That has since passed after speaking with the clerk treasurer and other parties involved. Essentially, we cannot award anything for 2023 and 2024. Essentially, the board needs to decide if this is something we're still going to pursue or not. If so, speak now. If not, I need a motion from someone to move forward with this for yay or nay.
Yeah, I was kind of confused.
Probably so. Essentially, we need to decide if we're taking action on the salary ordinance amendment. So whether we are awarding bonuses in 2024 for 2023 or we are not.
I'll make a motion that we are not.
Okay, Mr. Austin?
You don't adopt.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, you're right, it would go to council. This would be, I'm sorry, let me start back over. This would be to make a favorable recommendation or not favorable recommendation to the council regarding the salary ordinance amendment.
That would work.
That would be better. So, so I need a motion to either make a recommendation or not make a recommendation to town council regarding the salary ordinance amendment from.
Even better.
Yes. Thank you. I'm still learning.
I will make a motion for a recommendation to the, who's it going to? Tell me again.
Town council.
I'll make the motion
Go ahead.
to not make a favorable recommendation to town council on
Good.
salary ordinance.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Markort,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
and Mr. Holsey.
Yes, 4-0. Okay, item number 1 in new business is the approval of the park board budget. Ms. Sandberg, if you'd talk us through this.
Okay, so I'm gonna come around today because we received our I guess I should wait till I'm in front of the microphone. Just so you guys have something in front of you, so you have somewhat understanding of what I'm talking about at the moment. So, we just only Tuesday morning received our 1782 notice back from the state. I am still in the review process of the budget, but the discussions I have briefly had with town council Tuesday evening, since their first meeting of the year was just Tuesday night, most likely my recommendation is going to be to bring down the general fund budget sum because the tax rate and the tax levy was given to us less than what we put in for. So, and I'm sorry, I don't have my notice right in front of me, I left it over there. So the tax levy is not quite what we anticipated it to be. And instead of continuing on a trend without having a strong line of revenue stream that we know is coming in, I don't want to continue taking from cash reserves. I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So I'm asking for a little more review time, but I probably most likely will be asking for a cut within the general fund budget. Parks Department does fall within the general fund budget, but as you can see, what we put in for was pretty similar to what we put in for the 2023 budget, $980,650. So if we do cut anything, it's really not going to be significant. I am very confident that the parks will still be able to function manpower-wise, supply-wise, event-wise. If anything, we'd just be looking at your capital outlay.
Okay. Okay.
Did you have any specific questions for me?
Well, I mean, obviously, since you just got this and we just got this, I'd probably, if we had any questions, I'd probably be the next meeting. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty straightforward. And obviously, we made some larger purchases at the beginning of the year with the budget that we had, such as trucks and so on and so forth. And I think when you say capital outlays, as far as like machinery and equipment and vehicles.
Machinery, equipment, vehicles, and as you guys requested, the town council did approve a transfer resolution for the Parks Department at the end of 2023 so that we could encumber funds into 24 for a fence project. Mindy can speak to those.
Yeah, sure.
Got
No,
those
no.
memorized.
Yep, we've got that.
A fence project is additional trailer for the second pickup truck, a landscape trailer, a John Deere Gator with a snow blade, and, new flooring at the clubhouse building.
It should be in your packet, because I thought I emailed it to you all, but you had total forwarding encumbrances into 24 of
Yes.
just over $183,000 for
Yeah.
those capital projects.
Yeah, so, you know, again, I think to your point, I think the biggest takeaway, especially for like, and again, as an employee of municipal government, when you hear budget cuts, you just think you're getting fired. It happened my first year at the fire department. The mayor wanted to have a powwow about budget cuts, and I was 1 foot out the door, and come to find out, I was fine. We're gonna find other things to trim from, and it's not personnel and events and all the other stuff, so.
No.
I just want the employees to feel like warm and fuzzy about that and not be fretting because that's a terrible feeling.
No, I am 100% confident in the recommendation that I give to town council. It will not touch personnel.
Yeah, that's understandable. So, Board, what is your pleasure? Do you feel like you need to look this over in depth, or do you feel it's self-explanatory? Are you able to make a motion to approve the 2024 budget, or would you like to do that the next meeting?
Do you think that, this will be finalized by the next meeting, by the February
Yes,
meeting?
because I am required to respond to the Department of Local Government Finance by January 12th.
And Mr. Austin, do we have to approve this budget today, even though no?
Okay,
She has you in the general fund, and that's where it's gonna be evaluated.
Okay.
so then I think it would be responsible to approve the appropriate budget
Yeah.
after the adjustments have been made and so on and so forth, so.
Yeah, we'll have it, once we have everything to the DLGF, and then what the DLGF does is they certify the budgets to Lake County, and then they put out a final budget order. So once that final budget order is in hand, that is what those stated rates and levies are, that is what you are getting for '24.
Okay, what's the board's pleasure then?
I would like to make a motion to defer approval of the budget until our February meeting.
I will make sure you guys have the reports in your packets for the February meeting.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Miller to defer. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a second from Paul. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. President,
Nope, I'm sorry, hang on, stand by, please.
before Jennifer's down, I had a couple questions for her,
Sure,
if you don't mind.
no, absolutely.
That'd be great. You could be on the mic then.
Put me on the spot, make
So-
it an easy question.
You know this like the back of your hand. So what did the town seek in a budget amount, and what amount was actually approved?
So, this is where it's important for everybody to make sure everybody understands me correctly. The budget was technically approved as submitted, but the tax rates and the tax levies that we put in for were not. Which means, if you were to move forward with that budget that you put in, that you would be eating from your cash reserves. And for the last 12 to 18 months, the town has been eating into the cash reserves of the general fund. There have been additional appropriations made each year for the last few years, so we've gone above and beyond what our original budgets were. So now, where we're at, with the increased assessed valuation in town, the LGF brings your tax rate down. So, that comes over into your levy, so your levy is also dropped. So what we anticipated getting, state said no, because that, you have to live within your tax rate means, and the general fund, the motor vehicle highway fund, we have given some of the tax levy to, and your redevelopment general fund also gets a portion of the tax levy. So, I guess town council technically could take away from, say, motor vehicle highways levy and give it to the general fund, but then you're cutting off public works. Whereas I think it's much easier to make some cuts within the general fund to make sure everybody is okay, personnel can stay, you don't have to touch your people, you don't have to touch people's salaries. There are other places where we can cut back.
I get that, thank you. What does that mean in gross dollars? From what you really get, from what you applied for?
I cannot give a number at this time, because I don't have a hard number for everybody yet, because I'm still playing with it, and because I still want to confirm that the numbers I have run and the numbers I am looking at are correct, and that I'm not missing out on, say, I just drew a blank, hang on, it'll come to me. Circuit breaker. Want to make sure I'm accounting for circuit breaker. So, that's why I don't have a final number for everybody yet.
So if you don't have a number, do you have a percentage
No.
that's with the number? Okay, when you finish your reporting to the state on the 12th, you'll know those things.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm hoping to have it finalized by either end of the day tomorrow or first thing Monday,
Okay.
so that I can get it off to the state before the 12th.
Just
That way
just
everybody's
ask me
good to
to
roll.
inquire about the difference between applied for and approved, if you will, or
Yeah.
ordered, so.
Sure.
And on the record, that is helpful probably to you also. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we still need a roll call for that.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
And Mr. Holstein?
Yes. Okay, item number 2, under new business, more of a discussion piece, I think, than an action piece. Obviously, we have 2 new liaisons, and Mrs. Dixon and Mrs. Rivera. Under previous administration, Mrs. Sheben had kind of taken the Easter egg hunt and Labor Day Fest and Trunk or Treat as her lead, and we were assisting. So what we're wanting to discuss is, and we don't necessarily expect the answer this evening, but sooner than later, is are those events that are going to continue under council control? Are those events that the council would prefer the Parks Department to facilitate? What is the pleasure of
My personal
council?
opinion is, you have an established park department with a, operating budget that your staff can take over those events. That's my personal opinion.
Okay. Ms. Rivera, any thoughts?
Yes, I think so as well.
Oh, help.
Yeah, we'll be around to help, but, Colleen did put a lot of work into those events. Trunk or Treat with getting the donations, that's something that probably needs to be done during the day with employees, soliciting businesses for different donations. It's time consuming, so it would be great if you guys took those events.
Okay. Mindy, do you have any thoughts on this, since obviously that's gonna fall on your plate?
To be honest, I already blacked out dates and picked dates in the 2024 calendar for these in anticipation that may be switched over to the Parks Department. As far as the Easter egg hunt and your traditional trunk or treats, those are, annual community events that traditionally Parks Departments do take over. The Labor Day Festival is probably the only one that is in question, but I think we have a little bit of time. I'm just hearing the budget might be doing this, and we're expected to start doing this. And that gets just a little, and then what are we doing with Taylor Ice Fest for next year? That's a large 2-day event. So really just trying not to grow bigger than our actual shoes with the capacity of what we have as far as manpower and budgeting to do so. So I think, yes, Easter egg hunt and with the right solicitation of donations and community involvement, these things are typically a low-cost type event for the community. Same as your trunk or treat event, but when we start adding additional festivals and such, that may be where we consider maybe it's not a this year thing, but I think internally there should be more conversation and maybe an understanding if there's going to be additional funds from council possibly to make that happen, because I just don't foresee that in the budget for 2024.
Right, especially when it comes to festivals, and I'm not gonna remember right off the top of my head, but I'm gonna venture to guess that the clerk treasurer will remember. Where was that money coming from for Labor Day Fest? Was that the casino money? Was that what it was?
That was the tourism money. So every year, the council gets a distribution from the Lake County Tourism and something other funds that I can't remember. It's always a red check when it comes. But for the last who knows how many years, Cedar Lake has always gotten an annual distribution of $4,725.
Okay.
And as far as I'm aware, since we've only had one meeting, the town council has not yet discussed how to best utilize those funds this year. Because, yes, last year and the year prior, it was utilized for Labor Day Fest and Trunk or Treat, but in years previous to that, it was spread throughout other community events. We would get letters requesting, I believe some years Summerfest asked for a little bit of the funds, the museum would ask for a little bit of the funds, so I don't know what the council foresees utilizing those funds for, but again, it's such a minuscule amount, you really can't do much with it.
Well, and I guess my point is, and Colleen was very clear about when she was doing it, no, I'll take care of it. If you guys just want to come help, that, would be appreciated, and that's fine. But if it's going to become our responsibility wholly, I want our team to understand that, know that, so that, we can prepare. And I guess since we're talking about it, obviously, Taylor Ice Fest for an inaugural event I'm still pretty pleased with the attendance. I mean, as I said in the last meeting, 280 people on Friday was about 200 more people than I thought we had, with the rain and everything else. And I think we had over 1,100 people on that Saturday, and a lot of happy people and a lot of people that want to see its return. So, you know, we achieved Taylor Ice Fest as far as planning. When did we start that? Was that June?
The first time we met and weren't even as a committee was June.
And I mean, there's always room to improve and grow. I'm not saying we put out the perfect product, but I was pretty proud of what became of that, you know. So you know, again, I guess when we talk about previously council ran events, I just would like to, at some point, sooner than later, see where the council lies on Labor Day Fest, or you know, are they gonna support Taylor Ice Fest in the future? You know, and I guess since we're talking about events and fests on town grounds and such, then we have the farmer's market, which we've always been told that's an agreement between the farmer's market and town council, and that's not our responsibility, but it becomes our responsibility in emptying the trash and helping them set up and, you know, whatever, and that's fine. So, you know, I think with the change in the town council, you know, and with the town manager coming in, you know, I would like to know what the expectations are of our department in each of those capacities, and what does the council support and what does the council not, so that we can approach all of these appropriately with appropriate resources and so on and so forth. So, like I said, I don't know that there's any action to be taken on this, other than it would just be a request of this board to the town council to help us identify where we need to be looking. And again, the Easter egg hunt and trunk or treat, that's not the big burden, it's the festival end of it. So, if you guys can just let us know where your thoughts are on that, that would be greatly appreciated.
Hey, Dale.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm also thinking, as you're like naming off these type of events, the Lakeside Artist Guild, they also are an event that we sponsored to bring on here to town grounds. Maybe some better direction, as it was kind of heading this way last year, but we didn't get there, if we could get some better understanding of the use of town grounds by the Parks Department. We do maintain the town grounds, but some things, we're not overseeing the special event permits, but yet we rent the shelters there. So we really haven't had a great, you know, transition to what's happening with town grounds and who oversees that. Not like I'm looking for anything more to manage at this time, but it really does make things difficult when, you know, we're kind of bouncing back and forth between, you know, council and Parks Department, but then we're the ones maintaining it for those things, and it's really not even about funding or anything of where those funds come from, but some really definite, you know, pathways paved for us to be able to manage appropriately, and I think it will stop the confusion of the community as they're coming to us saying, well, I want to rent 10 town grounds, or I want to bring something here, and do we have the ability to do that as a Parks Department, as one of our park spaces? So that would be something that I think we should maybe, you know, try to clear up before the busy season gets here.
Yeah, and again, so, you know, I guess that would be another one of those items. We went into, and I'm going to be totally transparent with you, I didn't realize that the town manager's contract was expiring at the end of this year. I had it in my head he had another year left or something like that. And so, working with Andy Anderson and the Lakeside Artist Guild regarding them coming back next year, the understanding with the town manager and us was it was going to be handled the same way, special event permit, you know, so on and so forth. We didn't have a contract put together, but we had a mutual understanding. You know, Andy's getting ready to put his schedule together, he's getting ready to get his sponsors, he's getting ready to, you know, bring his talents and gifts to our community again, which I think is wonderful. I think the community thoroughly enjoys it. So I guess on that list for council and Citizen Bungie is what is that, can Mr. Anderson count on, at the very least this year, being handled this way, and if we want to tweak it, can we talk about that down the road? But in fairness to him, he invests a lot of effort and energy into bringing that to our community and does a lot of fundraising, and he's really excited to come back, and I just want to make sure that we have a clear pathway for him, you know, this year. And again, if council wants to change it, if town administration wants to change it or whatever, all I would ask as a courtesy to him is that that conversation be had through the year and that we honor what he understood going into this year.
Right.
So that would be my other, I guess that would just be another one. So we would just like to see a little bit of clarity how that's gonna be handled before, you know. Yeah, I mean, you know, and I think he's already running with it, you know. I mean, this season, he brought a lot of diverse music into this community. It wasn't just the Guild, it was, you know, Brazilian night, and, you know, the Beatles night is always a hit, and, you know, I think it's a great event, so we would just like
It's
him.
free to attend, community event. I
Yeah.
mean, that we sponsored last year, and, you know, it's a nice event. I hope that plans were put in place in October of last year, where Andy was asked to secure his dates with us as the Parks Department and to pull the special event permit from the town manager's office at no cost, because the special event permit was at a no-cost rate at that point. So I would hope that we would try to honor that in order to continue that, and if changes need to be made, we would look at those for the next year, because he kind of already was ready to go. So he is ready to go and sponsor. But that's just one of those tricky situations about town grounds and events, and we're sponsoring, and so I think some clarity would be, and guidance would be great there for us as a new department.
And like I said, the biggest thing for me is that, you know, we wrapped up last year with, this is what will happen, you know, next year. I don't wanna pull the rug out from underneath him and say, you've got to completely change everything you're doing, you know. He's been a great partner. He's been, you know, it's just been nice. So again, just some clarity sooner than later on that type of stuff would be appreciated. And I realize with council turnover and a new town manager that, you know, there's gonna be a lot happening, but I would just appreciate a little sliver of that attention for that type of stuff. So, okay.
Just as a quick question, you're talking the, 5 or 6 music nights that ran from during the warmer part of the summer?
Correct, it was 6 to 8, I believe, is typically what it ran. I think it was 6 to 8.
Yeah.
May through October or something?
Yeah, it was like every other week, I think.
He has 6 proposed dates, and the 5th date, one of those dates is movable at this time, because it was conflicting with something. So 5 dates, they're all Sunday dates, there's no Thursday dates coming in, and they are, you know, blocked off in the master calendar so nobody else can get their hands on grounds, but I also understand his need to begin his additional sponsorships and donations for that upcoming season.
Now, does this also, that 2 or 3 day event at the museum for the artists, local artists to come in, does that fall under the same kind of auspices, or is this, was that
She scheduled it the same weekend this last year, so that you could also enjoy music, but you got to go to the art show too.
okay, but
It
that's,
was like a partnership.
is that
With the
still part of the
museum.
same special permit, or is that a different?
No, they're separate.
That's through the Historical Society, so, okay, no, that was my question.
Yeah, and again, I mean, even with the museum, you know, Julie's been mindful of when we have had events on town grounds to, you know, increase exposure for, you know, her organization too.
Oh, absolutely, I think it works great that they go hand in glove together,
Mhm.
just personally.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like I said, it's pretty, and Mindy, if I'm out of line, tell me, but it's pretty low maintenance. I mean, he comes in, he sets up, he cleans up, it's not like it's not a, you know, big ordeal. We got one police officer out there, everyone comes out and has a fantastic time, so.
It's no cost to us, it's additional advertising because we are sponsoring. You forgot the best part, so like it's an asset to the community.
Absolutely.
It's a major asset to be able to
I
attend.
think it's a great thing.
I always describe it as his gifts and his organization's gifts, because, I mean, the Brazilian guitar night was amazing, and then we had the Arthur Murray Dance Studio come out, and they taught my two left feet to dance in 30 minutes, and now I've forgotten, but in that moment I had it. You know, but there were some neat opportunities that came out of that too, so, again, the community loves it. The thing I really loved about it is, and I toot their horn all the time, our seniors show up at everything. You know, the same seniors that were showing up to senior social were showing up to orchestra night, you know, and, they seem to be our biggest cheerleaders, you know, so anyways, so that's all I have as far as that goes. Board, do you have anything, am I missing anything?
Nope.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? Okay. All right, so clerk treasurer's fund report, we kind of have discussed clerk treasurer stuff a couple times.
I mean, this is your, you know, of spending list and go, I mean, really Mindy can explain that better than me. I
Yeah.
just make sure the numbers of the invoices and everything matches to the purchase order.
Yeah, and I will say, going through the expenses, the one thing that I'm really happy about is our 2 AEDs have shown up. When we look at the expenses, the cabinet's been mounted in the clubhouse, proper signage. Our department has one, you know, that was kind of important to me. You know, we had a building we were hosting public events at, and kind of a big proponent of AEDs, like,
We're not active though.
they're not active yet.
They're not active in the fact that I'm still waiting for monthly maintenance reports from Stryker, so we can go into how we properly maintain them and check them. And we're also waiting to be able to order, our proper identification signage to post in the building, but we just haven't been able to use Amazon yet, so.
Okay.
Almost there.
Okay,
They're ready to go.
I imagine by next week, purchase order and everything else should be available to
Then I'm-
the department.
Okay.
I just need a few more days to get everything
I understand.
squared away, and then departments can have at it.
okay.
Almost there.
Okay.
I will let you know when we are there, but we're close.
I mean, board, did you reviewed everything, did you see anything that caught your attention?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Okay, report of the superintendent.
So December was kind of weird for us. We had that Taylor Ice Fest, and then we crashed and burned for a little while after that large event. But we were still very busy getting things done. At the dog park, we went ahead and installed sod at the entry of both the large and small dog park, trying to address the safety concern of mud and slip hazards. At the dog park, we currently have 54 dog park members. If you want to talk to anybody about the dog park, show up there any day at 11 a.m. and there's a big crowd out there who likes to congregate. We're hearing great things. We're still tweaking a few things as a new park, but we're up and running. The picnic table prototypes have arrived on site. These were been talked about. We finally we went ahead and pulled the trigger, and now we've encumbered funds for additional ones, but they are sitting next to the park office. If you haven't seen them yet or been able to, you know, kick the tires on them, I suggest you go over and take a peek, because we're ready to pull that next order of them. I believe they're a quality product. They're a 100% recycled product that can remain in the elements for, and that seems to be the problem with the tables, is we don't have an appropriate place to house them out of the elements in the winter months, and we're just finding dry rot, not acceptable tables over the years. So we're looking into a more maintenance-free option, and with the hopes to continue to throw 10 to 15 tables in our inventory annually, and have them placed throughout all the park systems. So enough about picnic tables. Staffing, we have hired a full-time maintenance crew worker, filling a vacancy, and we hired Mr. Garcia, Raul Garcia, on the 26th from the Cedar Lake Ministries. He started orientation with us on the 26th. He has a lot of skills. He's very knowledgeable. We're happy to have him. I apologize to the ministries for taking him. He had been at the ministries in many capacities for a long time. We are currently interviewing the rec coordinator position. I have now, as of this report, I've had 6 applicants for this position. It was posted on our website on December 7th and on the IPRA website of Park Professionals on 12/11. I hope to have our candidate picked by the second week of January, but we're closing in on that time to make a decision with the candidates that we do have and have interviewed. I know that we've been just coming back to this all the time as an Eagle Scout project, and we did have a Boy Scout by the name of Braden who came to us asking to do an Eagle Scout project with us. I love the Eagle Scouts. I've worked with them many times in my career to bring things to the park system, and he's really good about reporting that. He's just not there yet, so we postponed him until February, but he's close to be able to come and present to you. So I did get an update from him last week. Very nice young man, and I can't wait to show you what he wants to bring to the table. So, 5-year master planning, we're there. That's another update. We're in the thick of it. We've already started park assessments and inventory. Architectural designs and such in previous master plans have been sent over for their review, and so they're working behind the scenes. There is a memo that I had sent to you in your guys' superintendent report, just giving you the update from them where they're at, which is essentially what I'm telling you right now. We are getting ready to pick the steering committees and those type of committee stakeholders here very soon. We're going to start being the reason that we're not moving forward. So that was noted in the memo, and we just kind of wanted to make sure that we were ready to do so. So I think that's a great first of the year thing, and once we have that ready to go, I think we'll be seeing more forward motion with public hearings and community engagement and surveying the community, which is next steps in our master planning. And we are currently making a temporary house of a shop for the Parks Department. I want to just bring you up to speed on this. We originally thought that this season we would be taking a bay over in the Public Works garage. It's unfortunate that they are busting out of the seams, so we really didn't get that opportunity to get in there. So we're putting a Band-Aid on this right now, and we're currently in a renovation of the pool house building. Just very temporary Band-Aid, but it will be a place that we can rehab picnic tables and have a workshop that we're currently working on. Installing a 9-foot overhead door and an electric heater costs would be about $1,000 to put into it, to have a temporary place and space to bring the crew in to work on things through the winter. But I do want to encourage some conversations about the big picture, and that is a place and space and maintenance building for this Parks Department with the equipment and the staff that we have and the items that it takes to run the soccer program and the rec programming. We're there, and it needs to be a priority project for us.
And just to piggyback on what Mindy's saying, for council, we did have a meeting at one point with Mr. Kubiak, Mr. Salatas, and Colleen, and we had discussed, I think before they decided Nagy's was going to be a floral shop, we had kicked around the idea like, hey, is there a place in town that we could rent, till we get a more permanent structure for our maintenance staff? As a matter of fact, and it's no fault of Public Works, it's no fault of Director of Operations. We were initially going to hold off on hiring another full-time employee because we were we're kind of out of place to put these people for them to do work and so on and so forth. We came to the understanding that, we would have the space, so we hired the employees so that they had a workshop to work in. And again, the pool house is definitely a Band-Aid on a bigger problem, but there was also discussion of giving consideration to either a joint or solo, like a pole barn structure over by the water tower off Parish.
Yes.
Because that's town property, at least heat half of it, you know, and utilize that as, I think if I remember right, Tim wanted to use part of it for cold storage, and then the other half of it could be a parks workshop. But again, all of that came to a halt when the suggestion was parks can use a bay down at Public Works, problem solved, you know, whatever. So, it is something that we do need to address. I mean, even the storage shed that we have right now for our equipment is busting at the seams. So,
And Public Works, there's two of us who have this problem,
mhm.
you know, they would be part of the team and try to fit us in there, but it's unfortunate, I've been told that their snowplow equipment is sitting outside, and so that's really not ideal to have that out in the elements when you have to go out in an emergency. So I think it's a bigger picture than just us, if I could
Absolutely.
throw that in there, and if there's some way that we can work together to get something to help the both of us, I think would be ideal.
So that, just so you guys have some background of where that conversation was too. Anything else, Mindy?
My superintendent report, no.
Okay, so, on your superintendent report, and this is for Mr. Oshton as well, I know we've been waiting on the clubhouse shelter permit and instructor contracts for a little bit. If you could touch base with Mindy on that, or the status of that, because as of 4:30 this afternoon, we already have 34 rental contracts, or, I'm sorry?
54 rental contracts.
Oh, you texted me 34.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
54, okay.
Yeah, we're at 54.
You know, and obviously Mindy was working with your office on that, but as people want to keep, you know, as we want to keep doing programming with instructors and so on and so forth, if you could get with Mindy, and
I'll do it.
appreciate that very much. Anyone have anything for Mindy in the superintendent report?
What do you expect, or what do you anticipate being like the first day of the stakeholder meeting for the master plan? What's a date that you could throw out so we have a goal to?
I was just asked that we could, I think in our memo, he stated that if we could have firm names by the second week of January, then we can start putting a date on the books, but he really wanted by end of January to have the first
Meeting?
steering committee or stakeholder, whichever came first, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that taken care of.
On that.
We'll get that taken care of. Okay, anything else for Mindy? Hearing none. Okay, rec coordinator is being handled by Mindy. Anything?
I'm filling in on the rec coordinator report and acting as the rec coordinator right now. We still do have events happening, even though we do not have a rec coordinator physically in the place. I have made sure that we are still running our senior bingos, our all ages bingos, our senior socials, our exercise, fitness, Easy Does It class is still active. The only thing we have put on pause right now is the art class and the adult paint class for the month of January until we can establish a person in that role and put new dates on the books. I am actively getting the soccer season ready for the spring. We've already have letters out into the community, into our past coaches, through our Remind app, advertising the need and want for our volunteer coaches with a deadline of the 24th of January. If coaches are interested in coming back, we need our packets in so we can put teams together so we know how many rosters to open up to allow players to come on. So that stuff is being geared up for that. And then just looking at the calendar as a whole, putting some placeholders for the events and such that will be taking place for the season, so no other traffic comes in and wipes out the opportunity at an Easter egg hunt because that wasn't decided upon, and the trunk or treat, and the Taylor Ice Festival for next year, and placeholders are placed for Lakeside Artists Guild, and Summerfest on our calendars as well. So that's what I've been working on for the recreation coordinator. And some community outreach as well. Soliciting partnerships and donations and sponsorships for senior programming. So I put a little elbow grease into that while I took this role over.
And again, just for, public watching or public knowledge, we are a small staff, and it takes people to put these events on, and There is a pathway to volunteer for the Parks Department. A lot of communities have different mechanisms of doing it. So for the people that have an interest or, you know, in order to have more programs, we either have to have more staff, which is more money, or volunteers that are willing to, you know, step up and help us when we need it. So there is a mechanism through the town's website, I believe, to get the volunteer application.
And through our parks, email parks.
Yeah,
Parks
you know, our
General.
Parks office, again, you know, we definitely could use the help in order to make events successful and have more events. So, anything for the Recreation Coordinator report from the board? Okay. I have no written communication. Any public comment?
Mr. President,
Sir?
it's not written, it's oral,
Okay?
and I neglected to talk with you about it today.
Okay?
Cedar Lake Park Foundation Incorporated, 503B entity, still exists.
Yep.
The accountant called me the other day about the latest and next filing. I think we're going on about 7 years with this thing existing like a shell.
Yep.
Am I to continue keeping it open and
For now, yes, that was on my to-do list, to speak with our current liaisons. I mean, obviously, you were part of meetings with the previous liaisons and, what was anticipated and what came through didn't balance out. So, if you would allow me some time to get with Mary Joan and Julie and kinda speak with them about where we were headed and what, you know, 'cause again, the 503C is, I think, an essential part of this Parks Department, and, again, maybe that's just something else that we can talk about sooner than later, and we can get some ideas of how to get that moving. 'Cause again, I think that's, you know, just the fundraising end of that alone is gonna be essential for us to grow, especially if we have, I mean, we only have a limited amount of money to do certain things, and that's a great opportunity to grow with those funds. So, no, thank you for bringing that up. That is on my to-do list for this year. Not even this year, but sooner than later.
Yeah, I think, I'm sorry, that was in, one of the topics of the master planning too, to help assist us with getting that foundation back on track, was one of the talking points when we met with them.
Good?
I got a banquet box that's full, waiting on direction.
Very good. Very good. Okay, public comment, second call.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, there we go, yeah.
Okay, stakeholders for the master plan, where are they coming from? Have people been asked to participate? What's the?
There was a suggested list from Context Design,
Not specifically, just how to.
yeah, just a way to approach it, so they,
Yeah.
you know, they suggested, is that in this, Mindy? Is that letter in
The
there?
context memo, just, yeah, it's in 5A, context design.
Yeah. So essentially they said, you know, park board member, potentially a town council member, a community, a business owner, and I believe they suggested like a town employee, if I remember right. Like, what, didn't Fred suggest like a police officer or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice if you could get them to come on to that, but, that would be probably more steering committee. Stakeholder would be, working with any civic organization, i.e. possibly the, Boys and Girls Club, a business owner in the community to sit on that, your park board member, council liaison, park staff, and yeah, that would really satisfy those needs of those type of committees. So we were just kind of waiting to figure out who's coming into what places installed until we got there, and then we could make next steps in asking those to join those stakeholder and steering committees.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Third call, public comment, none? Okay. Then I guess, that'd do it. I need a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead.
We'll both give a motion to adjourn.
All right, two
I'll
people said
second.
they're done. All right. Got a motion and a second. This meeting is adjourned at 6:25 PM. The next meeting is February 1st, 2024 at 5:30 PM.